Lately, I've been seeing some posts that say that the 1990s were truly the peak. People could survive off of one income, take vacations, and live the dream. Today, both parents have to work, the mortgage is overbearing, the car debt is drowning, and the cost of everything is unsustainable. But as I did some research on this situation, I started to realize that the 1990s weren't cheaper. And somewhere between like 1995 and right now, three things have quietly hijacked the middle class. And the wild part is, most people didn't even realize it happening. They just kept signing up for it. In 1990, the median home cost about 3 times what a typical household earned a year. Today, that number is 5 times. And even after you adjust for inflation, the average American mortgage payment is 40% higher than it was in 1990. And according to the Harvard Joint Center for Housing Studies, even after adjusting for inflation, the average mortgage payment back in 2024 was 40% higher than in 1990. So yeah, life feels harder because mathematically it is. But here's where it gets a little bit interesting. Because if you just stop there, you walk away thinking, well, I'm screwed. The system is broken. Nothing I do matters. And that's exactly the trap. The numbers don't tell the whole story. There's a second layer underneath the housing math, and that second layer is where your freedom actually exists. So let's break it down into the 3 things that quietly hijacked your wallet and your time. Culprit number 1, the invisible tax. The stuff you pay for today, let's be honest, literally didn't exist in 1990. Think about your monthly bills right now. Pull them up. Cell phone, home internet, streaming services, Netflix, Hulu, Disney Max, Paramount, Apple TV, cloud storage. In 1990, none of that really existed as a line item on the budget. You had a landline phone, maybe cable. That's about it. So how much is all of that stuff actually costing you today? Well, in 2025, the average American is spending $3,350 a year, about $278 a month, just on internet, mobile, traditional TV, and streaming. Over a 60-year bill-paying lifetime, that adds up to roughly $200,000. Let that one sit for a second. $200,000. That's a paid-off house in half the country. That's a kid's college tuition. That's a retirement that starts 10 years earlier. And it's leaving your account every single month in $20 and $15 chunks that honestly feel a little bit too small to argue with. And look, I'm not telling you to cancel your internet and live in a cabin or something like that. I got a phone, I have streaming, I'm using them right now, but I want you to feel the weight of it because the average person in 1990 had 0 of these recurring bills. Today, the average person has 8 to 12 of them. US households spend $69 a month on streaming alone, with the average household subscribing to 4 paid services. That's not a lifestyle, it's a tax, and nobody voted on it. Oh, and this little guy right here, every app, every subscription, every free trial that you forgot to cancel, it's bleeding us, right? We just accept it. Speaking of phone service, there is something that you can control here. Most people are overpaying for their phone bill and they don't question it. It's a theme of today's video. I was one of those people, in fact. I was paying over $200 per month for my family of 4 on one of the big carriers. And I realized that there are other phone carriers that are much more affordable and still have incredible service. Tello Mobile, in fact, helps you take back control over your phone bill with phone plans starting at only $5 a month and unlimited at only $25 a month. That pricing is not a prank. It's on America's largest 5G network, so you can take control over higher costs today. I personally am saving over $100 a month that I can now invest, pay other bills with, and take back my financial life. Get started with Tello Mobile today and experience what an affordable service with free hotspot and Wi-Fi calling, unlimited text, and international calls to 60 plus countries feels like. It's linked down in the description below, or you can scan the QR code up on the screen right now. That leads us to another culprit, which is culprit 2, the car trap. And I'm not sure about you, but when I look around at traffic today, I see something that didn't exist to this level in the 1990s. Well, I'm talking about BMW, Audi, Mercedes, Range Rover, Tesla. They're everywhere. And I don't know if it's where I live. Let me know in the comments if you're seeing this too. It seems like all the luxury cars are like everywhere now. And it's not just in the rich part of town. It's in like the regular part of town, in apartment complexes, in Walmart parking lots. Oh my gosh, in high school kids parking lot. The seniors are driving Audi and Mercedes now. And listen, that's great for the car companies. Their marketing, it's working. Hats off to them. But here's the cost. The average new cost in America for car payments is $48,841. The median household income after taxes is around $80,000, which means the average new car now costs 76% of the median household's entire after-tax income. In 1990, the average new car cost was a fraction of what a family made. Today, it's almost the entire pie. And we don't buy them with cash, of course. We finance them. 7 years, 8 years, sometimes longer. And then we trade them in before they're paid off. Then we do it again, then we do it again. We've turned car ownership into a subscription that you never really cancel. And I want you to think about something here. 6-year-old Honda Accords used to be the norm. You saw them everywhere. And nobody thought twice about it. And if it wasn't an Accord, it was probably a Honda Civic. Now you pull up in one and people look at you like, oh, hide the money, y'all. There's a poor person next to me. And that's not because the car got worse or anything. It's because the standard got rewritten, not by us, but by marketing. If you drive a paid-off Honda or Toyota for 10 years, and you take the $700 a month BMW payment that you didn't make and you invest it at a 7% return, you'd have over $120,000 in 10 years, just from not playing the game. That's the trap. The car isn't transportation anymore. It's a costume, and I fell for it too. I only talk about things that I fall for, right? Like for years, I kept getting the Audi. I had the Audi A4, then I had the Audi A6. Why? Because I wanted to look good in the parking lot next to all the other people I was parked next to. I eventually traded it in for none other than a Honda Accord. I couldn't be happier. Culprit number 3. This is the big one, guys. This is the big one. It's the social media hell. This one is worse than the first two if you combine them together. Think about the last time that you watched somebody take a selfie. They take 15 pictures. I was actually looking at this. I was on the beach the other week and I was watching a girl do this. 15 picture. They find the right angle. They check the smile. They check the lighting. They delete 12 of the photos. They retake it. Then they add a filter to the one that they keep. And then they post it with a caption like, just being me, blessed. That's not real, guys. That's a performance. They wanted to give you the best version of the truth, which means by definition, what you're seeing is fake. Now multiply that by every single person on your feed, every car, every vacation, every kitchen, every body, every relationship. You are looking at the best 3 seconds of 1,000 people's lives, and your brain is comparing it to the regular 16 hours of your own life. And I'd be lying if I didn't get some jealousy when I see my friends touting their brand new car or their upgraded house. But we were never going to win that comparison. We're never going to win it. Nobody is. And here's where it gets expensive. And this data point scared me a bit. A Bankrate report found that Americans spent $71 billion on impulse purchases of products they saw on a social media platform in the past year, with the average impulse buyer spending $754. This is not just random stuff that people saw while they're scrolling. And the kicker, Bankrate found that 64% of social media users who make an impulse purchase from an advertisement regretted at least one of those purchases. Nearly 2 out of 3 of those purchases, buyer's remorse. That's not a financial problem, my friend. That's a psychological war. And the algorithm is winning it, because here's what's actually happening. In 1990, the only people you were comparing yourself to, if you were around back then, were your neighbors, your coworkers, or your school friends, and maybe what you saw on a sitcom show. But today, what we're doing is we're comparing ourselves to the wealthy, beautiful, perfectly lit person on the entire planet. And the comparison happens hundreds of times a day. Every time you unlock your phone, so you buy the car you can't afford to look like the guy on Instagram, you buy the kitchen renovation to match what you saw on TikTok, you upgrade the phone every year because the new one was in the YouTube video. And yes, I am 100% guilty of this. And every single one of those decisions, every single one, is making someone else rich while making you poorer. Everybody thinks that they need the house, the car, the phone, the lifestyle. They think those things are the goal. They're not. They never were. What people actually need, what every single human being I think is really chasing, is freedom. Freedom from the boss they don't like. Freedom to be home when their kids are little. Freedom to take a Tuesday off without permission. Freedom from the alarm clock. Freedom to say no. The more I thought about my own life and what I was doing, the more I realized I wanted freedom. In fact, this past Tuesday, I decided I wanted to chill at the beach. simply because I wanted to. I had no boss to ask. I had no vacation time to submit anymore. This is the new flex, not the BMW. I spent 12 years digging out of debt, paying off a mortgage, building investments that pay me whether I work or not. And the day I walked away from my corporate job in January, I didn't feel rich. Still don't, but I feel free. And those are two very different feelings. That is what this channel is about. Not getting rich, getting free. And there's a difference. The people who figure this out aren't earning more than the people who don't. They're just buying less of the noise. So if you want to escape the trap and join me, here's the one move that does more than anything else. Cut one category completely. I'm not talking about cutting back. I'm talking about cutting it completely out of your spending for the next 90 days and put every dollar that you would have spent into a brokerage account instead and invest it. So don't argue which one, just pick the easiest one. Maybe the streaming services are easier, or the new clothes, or the DoorDash, or the car upgrade that you're about to buy. Just pick one that's in your gut that you just flinched when I said it and you're like, yeah, it's me. Use that. Because here's what happens. 3 things are going to happen. 1, you immediately have more money. Obviously, that's pretty easy. 2, you find out you didn't actually need it. 90 days from now, I bet you will not be sitting there grieving the loss of Hulu. I promise. 3, and this was the one that is important. Your brain starts to recalibrate. Suddenly the next purchase doesn't feel as automatic. You start seeing how much of your spending was reflex and not desired. And once you can see it, you can't unsee it. That one move, that one category, 90 days is how the whole thing starts to unwind. It's how I got myself out of the trap as well. And also for any of the parents who are watching right now, are you ready for a fun little game where we compare stuff to things? Check this out. Here's what I need you to do. Go gather up your kids and ask this question, and I want you to comment below with what they said. Here's what we're going to ask them. Please name all of the stuff you got for Christmas or your birthday or whatever in the last 1, 3, and 5 years. And I want you to write down how much they actually remember getting exactly each year. Then I want you to ask them a different question. Say, okay, cool. Name some of the places we visited, or you could say some of the experiences we did as a family in the last 1, 3, and 5 years. Write down how much they recall and let me know what they recalled a little bit easier. When I did this with my kids, I was absolutely astonished. They named maybe 1 or 2 things that they got for Christmas, but it was a bit fuzzy to them. But then they could easily recall, like almost impressively, a vacation we went on 4 years ago. In fact, my youngest would have only been 6 years old at that time, but explicitly remembers that trip. Did she remember what she got for Christmas at 6 years old? No, she did not. It was at that point I also realized the importance of freedom, being able to spend more time to make more memories, which are sometimes less expensive than buying things. So let me know how it goes for you in the comments if you're a parent and you play this game. But now I need to warn you about something. When you decide to chase freedom, something's going to happen to you. And this comes from experience. From the first few years, people are going to think that you're poor. They're going to wonder why you didn't upgrade the car. They're going to ask you why you still have the same phone. They might even feel a little bit sorry for you. Some people thought I was just being cheap. But then something's going to flip around year 5, year 7, year 10, whatever happens here. When you start taking the trip while they're stuck at work, when you're home for your kid's first day of school while they're answering the emails, when you walk away from a job that's wearing them down, they stop thinking you're poor. Oh, don't get me wrong here. They won't think that you're rich, but they're going to start thinking that you're lucky. You're not lucky. You just refuse to play the game any longer. And the funniest part about the whole thing, one of the answers was sitting right in front of them this entire time, right there on the thing they look at every day on their commute to work, the steering wheel. One logo's been quietly selling them status. The other one, just quietly getting them where they're going while they're building up their freedom. If this hits you anywhere, if you're sitting there saying, man, this feels like this is me, good. That's the first step. And if you love this, if this is your vibe, subscribe, because everything I make on this channel is built around getting you out of the trap and building awesome personal finance. So in order to continue your journey, check out this video next. Keep building your Sharpe money, and we'll see you on the next video.